What's up, guys? Welcome back to the garage. In today's episode, I'm going to be installing the brake upgrade on the back of the Supra. I am going to be installing the 2014 Cadillac CTS-V rear calipers, which I've gotten painted to match the front. So quick breakdown. Like I said, these are 4 pistons, as you can see, 2 there, 2 there. Both sides clearly, and then the brackets. Now, this is what makes the kit come together, are these brackets, and I got these from Killswitch. I'm gonna put their link in the description. Now, the kit comes with these 2 bracket hardware pieces, these 2 spacers, and the bolts. So when you order the kit from Killswitch, this is what you're gonna get in the whole kit. It also comes with this hub-centric, 2 little hub-centric pieces, which would go in here and then keeps this centered on the hub of the car. Now, to make that all go together, I have these 2014 Lexus ISF rotors. So that's a breakdown of the kit. I already started on the passenger side of the car. Everything is taken off, so I'm just gonna go right into installing. And then also I have the some ceramic brake pads to install with the car. So one of the first problems I have, or you're gonna run into, is the new rotor is too big and it's gonna hit on the dust shield right here. So it turns out I found a chisel and I can actually just hammer this away, and then I should be able to just bend it until it falls all the way off. So there's every so often there's like a little tack weld, and all I'm doing is just separating the shield from the actual, I'm not sure what this is called back here, but separating these 2 pieces. That little dust shield came off pretty good with the hammer and chisel. So here it is, just trash. Now, I'm gonna slowly try to explain what the next steps are. So the bracket, this is the passenger side. Now, I went out and got mine machined. So if you buy these, they look slightly different. This part is the same. The holes are going to be in the same space. However, right here is like 3 millimeters thicker. And so I'll explain why mine look different and what the difference is. So you install it like so. And so in order to, this area here is going to be a nut and bolt, which is provided. And then they provide the hardware, which they also send you 2 longer bolts. Now, this is where it starts to get a little, you got to pay attention. So now, obviously, you need the rotor. You're going to have to put the rotor on. But before you put the rotor, you want to test fit this, because you do have to either trim right here or right here. What you do is you want to line it up. Now, it's going to go on the inside. So the top hole doesn't want to line up. In fact, none of the holes want to line up because they're touching on the lip of right here. As you can see, the paint transfer right here. So what you want to do is you want to try to line it up where you think it's going to touch. And then, like I said, you can grind away at the caliper, just these 2 little areas right here, to where it sits flush and the holes will line up with the bolt holes, or you can cut away 2 little slots on the actual piece right here. All right, so here's the end result. I had to grind away quite a nice amount of the metal. I mean, I started a little bit too high, close to where the bolt hole is, but I should have been closer down to this area right here. And the reason for that is when you try to put it on the bracket and swing it in, right, this area is touching right here. So I also went and cut a little bit right here. I didn't want to, but I did. Then I hit it with some black paint. No worries. Now it's time to throw the bracket on. So like I demonstrated earlier, they provide the hardware. So you get a nut and a bolt. Now the nut is an 18 mil and the bolt side of it is a 19. And I'm actually gonna put some blue Loctite on this area right here. Now, hopefully I can explain this clearly. When you buy the bracket, it comes with a little bit thicker right here. And so because it's a little bit thicker, it actually pushes the rotor, and everything will be shifted this way slightly. And in order to get the rotor to be centered in the caliper to right where it's right down the middle, they provide this 3mm washer that you would put right here. And what this does, when you put the rotor over it, it keeps the rotor away by 3mm, which is what the difference would need to keep it center in the caliper. But what I have done, I went and removed the 3mm from this face right here. So essentially the caliper is now gonna sit exactly where this would offset it. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a spacer that you have to put right here. And the reason they have this spacer, what happens is when you create this space right here, you gotta offset the rotor so that it ends up falling in the middle of the caliper. And if you don't, the caliper is gonna touch these two areas right here, and that's not what you need. So in order to keep the rotor centered in here, they had to create this 3mm offset. So essentially now, all you have to do is, and it's gonna be like putting a puzzle together, because you cannot put the caliper on before the rotor. Once you put the rotor on, then you have to reach back in here so you can see to put the two bolts in. That's gonna actually attach the caliper to the bracket and subsequently to the car. So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm just gonna go run through it. Then once I have it fully attached, I'll get undo the brake line and then connect it to over here, bleed this side, and move on to the other side. All right, time to drop these brake pads in. So these are pretty straightforward too. They just slide in place, one in the back, one in the front. But before I do that, I'm gonna put some little lube on here. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide one in here, and they're not gonna fall through because there's like a stop on the inside of the caliper itself. And then other one go in here. Now I just need to get my assistant to push the brake pedal all the way in, hold it in place while I undo this and transfer it quickly over to this caliper. I bled the brakes, no leaks, everything is nice and dry, no issues. So now I have a couple stickers and I'm gonna make them, I mean, they're kind of small, but I think they'll still do a little bit of something for aesthetics back here, instead of just leaving it plain old blank like it is. Let's go ahead and... This side is a wrap. I'm gonna throw the wheel back on, do the other side, and then I'll set the car down and do a final review. All right, what's up guys? This is the next day after I installed the brakes on the back of the car. And I'm gonna show you some of the issues I'm having with the installed brake kit and what the recommendation is to resolve that issue. So when I bought the brake calipers, they came with the pad assembly, the pin, the anti-rattle clip, and everything. However, the brake pads itself came with a kit. Now the difference between both kits, the pins that goes through and hold the caliper, the pads in place, these pins are just one straight, the shaft is the same size all the way through. The ones that came with the caliper, they have like a little grooved out area that's a little bit skinnier, and then it steps up right here. And what that's supposed to do is allow this anti-rattle clip to sit up a little bit higher because of the groove right here. So imagine if this was the same diameter, this all the way through here, it'll force this down and it'll be touching on the rotor. Well, as a matter of fact, it is touching the caliper, the rotor. It's kind of hard to see because it's so kind of close in here. But right now, this pin right here is touching the top of the rotor. right here. So it causes a little squeak whenever I drive. And you can see right here, that little shiny area, that's because it's touching. Now, I went back to Killswitch. Their recommendation is to put this solid pin down here in the bottom and swap it out with this one with the groove, and then keep the one with the groove up here to remove ever so slightly this pin away from the rotor. Now, based on what I'm looking at, I don't see what difference this is going to make by me putting this pin here. I, however, realize that if I take this pin, the one that's currently in the car, and kind of remove some of the material, it would remove this further away from the rotor, and it will stop my my squeaking. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna end up putting this pin in my drill and turn it, and while I'm turning it in the drill, use my my cutting disc and just grind away a little bit of this right here, thus making it slightly skinnier, which will allow this to relieve itself from the top of the rotor. So first, I'm gonna get that going, then I'm gonna get this going. All right, so I put it on there, and it's a lot better than it was before. So now I'm gonna try to smooth this over. All I got here is some sandpaper, and I'm just gonna sand it. I shaved the pin, and like I said, I touch it up with some primer paint, and I just made it slightly skinnier right in this area right here. So it allowed the rattle pin to release itself from touching the top of the rotor as it was rotating. And then I went and put the bigger pin down here, like they recommended on Killswitch. And I put the car in first gear and let the rotor spin, no more rubbing over here. And same thing on the other side. And everything is all good now. So I'm gonna throw the wheels back on, take it for a spin. But I drove it yesterday, and the stopping power is significantly better. It looks a lot better. But you know, I was dealing with a little bit of rubbing noise, which was very annoying and kind of loud to be left alone. So I had to try and fix that issue. All right, there it is, guys, all done and put back together. Again, these are 2014 Cadillac CTS-V calipers with a Killswitch bracket, and 2014 Lexus ISF rotors. I think it looks pretty good, actually. I like the orange, which is why I went with the color, and I like the whole setup.